Hi, all. Welcome. I will be running the meeting in Christina's absence tonight. Thank y'all for signing on a little early. We'll give folks a couple more minutes to join before we get started. And we are live on YouTube already, so just an FYI.
Oh, thank you for the heads up. I'm Francoise, by the way.
Hi, it's good to meet you. I'm Hannah. I'm one of the Strategic Management Fellows.
Good to meet you as well. I'm just trying to get my camera situated. So this is going to be my first, not my first meeting, but my first meeting as chair of the committee. So I'm just getting my technical things in place.
No worries. Take your time. Welcome, Chief Avila.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Can you see me? Okay. I can't hear you, but I can see you.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Great. So is everyone enjoying the weather? I know. I can't.
Hi, all. I think we are still waiting for a couple of board members to join us. We'll give them a few more minutes. And for anyone that missed it, Christina is on PTO, so I will be facilitating the tech for today's meeting. I'm Hannah. I'm one of the Strategic Management Fellows. We do have another member with us, so I will defer to you as the chair, Ms. Crystal Leisure, when you'd like to get started.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the meeting, the committee meeting, teaching and learning. I'd like to introduce myself, and I'd like just to have everyone just introduce everyone who's on the call, everyone who's in the meeting to introduce themselves. I'll start with myself. My name is Francoise Darastel Ledger, and I am the chair of the Teaching and Learning Committee and a board member.
Okay, I'll go. Hello, everyone. Kim Oliver, board member, second vice chair.
Hello, everyone. Shantae Brody, board member.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvette Avila, Chief of Schools.
Good afternoon. I am Dr. Madeline Negron. I am the Chief of Academics.
I can go next. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abby Olinger-Quint, and I'm the Senior Director of Data and Accountability in the Performance Office.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Wheeler. I am one of the Strategic Management Fellows.
Hello, everyone. Sharice Eiffel, Strategic Management Fellow working with Priority 3.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bethany Silver, Chief Performance Officer.
And I think Okay, I think that should be it. Thank you so much for joining us. So our first item, we have two objectives for this month's meeting. And our first is understand the programming for summer school.
So Chairperson Ledger, I would ask, could we switch the items and go to, if it's okay with you, to switch and begin with chronic absenteeism and attendance?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you like me to begin?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So I'm going to share my screen and just want to say, though, we are going to have a focus on absenteeism and chronic attendance and not chronic absenteeism. Just want to emphasize it's all around student engagement that we really have the focus. Can everyone see my screen? Yes. Okay. Perfect. So I'd like to go through the whole PowerPoint and then have time for questions. I do believe that sometimes some of the questions could be answered as I go through the PowerPoint, and then we'll have enough time to answer any questions that might come up. Is that okay, Chairperson Ledger?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just want to start a little to focus us around the history of chronic absenteeism in the last couple of years and at Hartford Public Schools. And so if we think about it, we think about what happened as of March 2020 when the pandemic hit, that our current absenteeism and the way we measured chronic absenteeism and the way we looked at attendance totally shifted. And so I just want to bring that to light, and I'm going to go through the PowerPoint to highlight. That's the first section of the PowerPoint. And so just want to start out by saying, what is chronic absenteeism? What does that mean? And so we have approximately 180 days of the school year for students to attend school. And 10% of that, if a student is not in attendance for 10% of that 180 days, which turns out to be a total of 18 days, then that would mean that they were considered to be chronically absent. And so the data that's in front of you right now just talks about the trends, the attendance rate trends that we have seen since 2019. The blue bar is as of March of that year, and the green bar where it says EOY is the end of the year data that we ended at. And so if you look at our attendance rates from that time, they were in the high 90s, and then they go into the mid 80s. As you can see, once COVID hit in March 2020, March 2020, and attendance stopped. We had stopped taking attendance March 16th, I believe, of 2020, and then focused on engagement. You can see our chronic absenteeism rates as well. From March 2019, we were around 24. And then that end of that year, it was about 25. In March 2020, again, I just want to emphasize that the state had told, we stopped taking attendance after March 16th in 2020. So that wasn't a full year due to the pandemic. I also want to share that in the months of each month, there are certain dates in which the number of days are required to meet that chronic absenteeism number. And I'm just going to give you an example. So for example, in September 15th, it would be 1 day. If a student was absent for 1 day by September 15th, they would be considered chronically absent. September 28th, it would be 2 days. And then currently this month in March, March 2nd, if a child was absent for 11 days, they would be chronically absent. If by the 16th, it would be 12, and then by the 30th, it would be 13 days. So the number of days continuously changes by month, and to determine whether or not a child is chronically absent. So if a child right now has 12 days and they are chronically absent, and they are not considered, as of today, which is the 30th, they will no longer be considered chronically absent and would be off the chronically absent list. Just want to move to our current state right now. Our ADA as of March 25th is 87%, and our chronic absenteeism rate is 44. This indicates how we've had dips. And so if the blue line is last year's attendance daily rate, and if you can see that we had some dips and then it ended up to 83.6. What happened this year, which is the line in red, we're definitely higher. And then we had a huge dip to a number of things that I'll highlight later on in the presentation, but especially between the new variant Omicron and then the return to back from winter break that really had an impact. We are now on the upswing and our attendance rates are raising once again. As you can see, as of the end of February, we were at 88.4. This is our chronic absenteeism rates. And as you can see that we started in September at 32 and we were at a good place of hitting our target. But again, you can see the upswing in the same month of starting in December when the COVID rate started to increase, definitely impacted our chronic absenteeism rates as well. This is just to share with you that there are Alliance districts across the state of Connecticut, and just wanted to share that all of the school districts across Connecticut have had an impact due to the pandemic, and with their attendance daily rates as well as with their chronic absenteeism. What you see here by school district is the percentage of which it increased. And so, for example, if you look at East Windsor School District, 25.2 is the number of percentages that they have gone up compared to where they were prior to the pandemic. And so we went up 19%, which is sort of in the middle of where other districts have gone up either very high and some have gone up for about anywhere from 7.9 and as high as 29.6, which was in, I believe, Waterbury. And so just to share that the impact of the pandemic has impacted all of the students in Connecticut. This just shares the current, this is as of February 2022. These are school districts and their chronic absenteeism rates as well. It is not all of the Alliance districts, just wanted to highlight some of the districts. And so we, in that 48% that was captured also includes our out of district students and their attendance rates. And it also includes a variety of districts that may be similar to us. There are other districts that are even higher than the 56% rate. For example, Thompson School District, which is not very similar to our district, but is at 68%, which is not on this chart. Just wanted to show the different rates of chronic absenteeism across the state of Connecticut as well. And so just wanted to share some of the conditions over the last I'm calling it 3 school years because it did impact. This is a 3rd school year, though the virus has hit us over 2 years, but at 3 school years, this has impacted. And so the very first year, we had to make sure that as of March, that all of our students had the technology that they needed. Life was disrupted at home for families. The way that they had typically engaged with schools and the regular schedules was totally disrupted. The State Department stopped tracking attendance and went to an engagement model. And there were a lot of external factors that impacted our students, just to highlight a few. And then last year, we had different learning models. So though we were at remote at the end of 2020, then we had different learning models and had to have different shifts. So we went from hybrid to remote to back to some hybrid, and some students stayed fully in person. So there was a variety of learning modalities throughout that school year last year. And there were many COVID safety procedures that were put in place, and several students and teachers were on quarantine. And there was a new attendance procedures that have been mandated by the state, which is that if a child was attending school virtually, that 50% of their assignments had to be completed online to be considered attending in school, to be considered present in school. And so there was a lot of adjustments that we had last year, and some of those adjustments continued this year as well. We've also had many transitions over the course of the year, where even though we're fully in person, there were at times if a student was on quarantine, then they did have the option to have virtual learning, and the same requirements for attendance was the same as it was last year. There was a great fear as well as last year around COVID and coming to school. And then there was a shift in the quarantine. At first it was 10 days, and then it shifted to 5 days. And so there were many transitions that had to happen over the course of those 3 years, which definitely impacted our attendance rates. This definitely shows the impact of half days. So the blue bar is the days that are not early release days, and the orange is the early release days. And so if you see, it's about 2 to 3% difference of the attendance rates when it's a half day. Just want to highlight some celebrations around our attendance and chronic absenteeism. And even though it is a high percent of 19%, it is lower than many other cities that we went up in our chronic absenteeism. We were highlighted from the state that we've had a consistency around maintaining the same number. We have this year, and even last year, we've sort of maintained around 43, 44 at the moment, and we have sustained that. Though that is a very high number, it is something that shows that we have consistent practices. We have several district-wide incentives that have students excited about participating and coming to school, and that have shown success in preventing the dip days that we have. And then we have our challenges around half-day Wednesdays, and we've addressed that by decreasing the number of half-days that we have this coming year. We do still have families that are concerned still around COVID. And also we had an impact due to the quarantine and siblings coming to school or not coming to school because they were quarantined and their sibling may or may not have been quarantined. And then also just parents and families being ill themselves, which prevented them being able to bring their students to school. So just want to quickly talk about the structures that we have in place to support attendance. And so we have a district ACE team that we have in the district, and that team consists of the executives, a few executive directors of school leadership that's on the team, someone from the Data and Accountability Office, member from the Teaching and Learning Office, which is Office of Academics, a special ed representative, so it's a member from the Office of Special Ed, and then we have someone from the Office of Family and Community Partnerships and someone from Communication. And so they meet on a weekly basis, and their task is really to routinely unpack and analyze data in real time, really think about systemic district-wide efforts that can support the culture of attendance, build the capacity of our school leaders and school staff to support absenteeism, as well as develop and implement year-round communications and promote and share accountability conditions. We also have school-based ACE teams, and that consists of principals, teachers, school counselors, school social worker, student engagement specialist, family and community support service providers. We have members from our community-based organizations sitting on our ACE teams and the behavior tech. At some schools, there might be other members as well that sit on the ACE team, and the ACE team supports students coming to school by meeting weekly, and they also meet weekly, and they are specific to their school level work and really talk about a multi-tiered attendance strategy that is customized for their school. Though they participate in the district-wide initiatives, they also have the ability to customize to meet the needs of the individual school as well. And they definitely review the data and try to eliminate any barriers or inequities that prevent students from coming to school, and have ongoing communication with parents and the school community about supporting students. Some celebrations around our ACE teams. I'll just highlight the fact that we do have schools where our CBOs are sitting on the ACE team, that we have culture and climate walkthroughs to observe the ACE teams as well. We created a choice board for online learning because we want to make sure that the online learning is still engaging for students who were on quarantine. Some of our challenges that we have is staff absences as well, and that is primarily due to quarantines and illnesses, and then the vacancies that we continue to have because nationally there's a shortage of educators and other positions that are related to school level staff members that has been consistent is a few challenges that we have had. Some root causes. We've spent a lot of time diving deeply into the data to identify a root cause, and a root cause is the highest level cause. There are many causes of why students may not come to school, and they can be complex, and it could be more than one. It's not just only one, but the ones that we've lifted is primarily was COVID, different types of different illnesses that may not be COVID, appointments that students have to attend that have to happen during the day and not being able to have these appointments at other times, some behaviors. Childcare has been an issue, and childcare sometimes for our actual high school students, but also childcare for the students themselves. Their parents may have had difficulty of having childcare arrangements, technology, and that goes from being able to use it properly, as well as maybe it's broken, lost, or stolen. Those are incidents around technology that has happened. Students have returned, our high school students have begun to work and participate in the working force, and it may be necessary for some of our students to support their families to work. And so that has been a struggle and definitely impacts our absenteeism. Transportation, and not that it's not available, but there are in some cases where there is issues this year with bus drivers and had a shortage of bus drivers anywhere to the distance, meaning parents are concerned about the neighborhood in which their children have to walk through to get to school, as well as the distance, and due to maybe cold weather and other circumstances. And then mental health. We had seen a large number due to the pandemic of mental health issues in both families and students. And just some of the trends, and I'm just going to highlight some of the trends that we have, so I mentioned some of them as well, but wanted to talk about, teachers' absences seem to match the student absences. So we do see data that, and I'll show that to you in a minute. And then just a changing in quarantine policies and the revolving door that had happened due to the pandemic, and even when they may have just had a runny nose, but the fear of that, it may be COVID, and they stayed home. And where typically prior to the pandemic, if they did not have a fever, students came to school, right? And then there were families that traveled out of the state and were detained due to the COVID practices in other states as well. So this is a comparison with the percentage of attendance, the year-to-date average of the daily attendance rate for students and teachers. And as you can see, in alignment with the research, it seems to be that they're very close in numbers. So research talks about if you have teachers that are absent or not there, and that also includes vacancies, right? If so, you don't have a consistent teacher or a classified teacher that is certified teacher, then the absenteeism rate tends to parallel the students. And so the data is fairly close to the teacher's rate and the student rate. And some celebrations around our structures, that we do have a collaboration with that this year that was strengthened with DCF, that to really help problem solve. It was around problem solving barriers to attendance that they worked with us closely to do that. We've continued to increase attendance. We've had parent workshops. We've increased our outreach for mental health supports and trying to support homelessness, which was on the rise as well. Some challenges, definitely the concern with Omicron and the high rates of the COVID cases. And then there was also the number of students who are over age and undercredited who want to continue to stay enrolled in our school district, but yet have other obligations as well. Some district strategies, and there are a lot of strategies here, just want to highlight that we have put in place. And so just really making sure that we have different experience for our students. So example, getting kindergarten students registered on time so that they can possibly get their physicals on time and get their all the vaccines that they need on time that we have. So to be proactive in that and making sure that they have all the things that they need, that we continue to stay involved in research and participate in Talk Tuesdays, the continued outreach that we have, whether it's home visits, phone calls, engagement, and other outreach protocols that we have, and having a quarterly ACE newsletter. And so a number of district strategies that we have tried, even Summer Bridge for our 8th graders, preparing them to go into high school and making sure that experience is one that is welcoming and exciting for students so that they attend school the very first day of school when it begins in August. And then here are some school strategies. There are all types of incentives, and we've been highlighted in the news. Most recently, it was McDonough School at a pep rally around attendance, and then it was also Naylor School as well as Sanchez around all of the fun activities that take place in school to keep them engaged, as well as ongoing items that really help us identify some barriers and problems like meaningful data collection. That is one of the strategies, and just really identifying a mentor and a caring adult so students can feel a sense of belonging. So then I'm going to just go to this particular pyramid. This is a graphic that is in process of changing. We're just developing. And what we're trying to capture here is that we have a holistic approach to supporting student engagement, and not just incentives and just home visits or outreach. That it's a multi-tiered approach of many different programs and processes that have been in place. So for example, if you think about restorative practices, which is a school-wide system and approach to address how the interaction of students are in a school building, that is approach that fosters a sense of belonging. So when students feel a sense of belonging and they come from a school culture that is engaging and lifts student voice, they're going to want to come to school. So that's an example. Our SEL curriculum that we have for pre-K-8 students in second step. And so this is just to try to capture the comprehensive approach that we're taking to support student engagement. And there's a number of tiered approach there. And then the next level of work. So this is a high priority in our district, and presently it's myself and executive directors for school leadership is Corinne Barney, who leads the work. And so we really do feel that we need concentrated staff members that really support just student engagement alone, and really thinking about having an identified person to just deal with data that's related to attendance. We have a data and accountability office, but they also have many other multiple responsibilities to support our efforts to continuous improvement across the district. We are hiring additional SESs that was approved by our approval of the budget, and have begun onboarding and shadowing. Our Twilight team, who are conducting home visits, and will be conducting home visits in off hours, so in the evening and on Saturdays and other days. We will begin to start planning for the summer already, for summer engagement with families. And then I'll just highlight one or two others, really focusing on students right now who have absences between 12 and 17 to really make sure that we identify any interventions and support any goals and progress and monitoring so that they can not get to the chronic absenteeism number. So I am going to stop sharing and take any questions that you might have.
Okay, I'd like to see if Anyone, if you have a question, if you can please raise your hand or, okay, so I see that Board Member Oliver has a question or comment.
Yes, thank you. My question was on slide 18, and it was around the root causes. First of all, a great presentation. Thank you, and I really appreciate the analysis and the level of work that apparently, it's very apparent that you guys did on this. I was thinking about, I had a couple of questions. I'm going to try to remember them. One of them is, we talked about the impact in earlier slides of COVID and the reality and how it's really impacted all cities and towns across our state and likely beyond, right? Have you done an analysis of, if you take out the root cause of COVID-19 to see what the numbers would be? Are you able to do that?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Silver and to Abby, but I don't know. I'll just say what I think first. I don't know how we would do that, only because when we are tracking why a person's absent and they say COVID and COVID related items, I guess the only way would be to assume that if we were to take that number away, and then we would get the number, but I don't know data wise if that's a way we would come to that decision. So I'm going to defer to my colleague who would better answer that question.
Thank you for that question, Ms. Oliver. That's a tough one. I think that we definitely would need to do some research and get maybe some advisement from other research organizations on how to control for the impact of COVID when looking at our attendance rates over time. It might be possible, and it certainly does sound like a worthwhile inquiry. So I will look into that. Thank you.
No, thank you. I just thought it was interesting because it was at the top of the list, of course, and just wondering if we would see a significant change, right, in that graph, if it was pulled out. I guess I'll just give this won't be a general, and unless someone else asks a question. So we know, especially at younger ages, we're talking about a lot of family stress and parent stress that comes into play, and you spoke to that greatly. I'm wondering about, like, as you're doing those root causes, I saw the work that you guys were doing in terms of the tiers and really trying to have this kind of comprehensive approach to the work. Is in some of the, and I was trying to scan it quickly, right? I think you had a lot in there. I was thinking about, you mentioned, like, if the parent is not working, or if they're running into a transportation problem, has there been any success at trying to provide more supports to parents who are giving those type of reasons as why their child is perhaps not going to school, as opposed to, COVID or the doctor's appointments, et cetera?
So I would say that if there is information that's needed in regard to medical help or mental health, that is offered. So if we are aware of that situation, so we do have, whether it's the nurse or the social worker or the teacher that has that information that might share that information. If they, for example, it also has happened where we've delivered laptops, where even now, if the child went home on the weekend and then Monday mom is sick and can't come in, and we know that, then we would deliver the laptop so they can still engage in learning. And so that's another venue that happened, because it's not always predicted, right? They could take a test, and sometimes in this situation, there were times where there were no symptoms, and then a child, there were cases where they turned out to be positive, but we're not even aware that they had symptoms. A family member tested positive, so someone else tested, and oh wow, there was surprise. So in those cases, we try to support as best as possible to make sure that they still have access to learning as well. And then in the cases that we might have to make further referrals, whether it's economic referrals, we turn it over to the right people in our organization that can help the family.
Great, thank you.
So I have a question with regards to the culture and climate walkthroughs. I want to know, were these walkthroughs announced or unannounced? So did the schools have a heads up? Were they given a heads up to prepare for these walkthroughs, or did you just show up, or were they unannounced?
No, they were announced. We scheduled the walkthroughs. They happened in October and presently are happening now. So the ones in October started at the beginning of the school year, and the staff knew, as well as the administrators knew, that we were coming to attend a culture walk, as well as to observe the ACE team. And feedback was provided to the ACE team. And that was a team of people who went through the cultural walkthrough. I would say it was a member from the Department of Family and Community Engagement, someone from school leadership, and then also someone from operations and facilities. And so, as well as members from the school. So from the district level, that's who attended, and then school members attended. Typically it was the custodian, it was the school administrators, and at times there were other members that the FCSSP also attended. So there were different members at the school level that attended the walkthroughs. And then collectively they discussed what they saw through the walkthroughs. And right now the executive directors on one-on-one with the principals are conducting the walkthroughs now, and they scheduled that individually, and those are also announced. And then there will be a third walkthrough before the end of the school year with more individuals as the first one.
Thank you so much. So another question I have about that with regards to the walkthroughs, once feedback is given to individuals who are being observed, how much turnaround time, and there needs to be some corrective actions taken or some modifications or adjustments or accommodations made, how much turnaround time is given to those individuals so that they can correct whatever they need to correct if need be?
So it depends actually what it is and what supports they need, right? So if it is, so first they're given support, right? The very first piece, and observed, and let me just say, it's observed to give feedback and not for evaluation. So none of this is evaluative. The walkthrough is not evaluative, and nor is the observation of the ACE team. It is about just improvement and about having consistency around our ACE teams across the district to make sure that they're lifting the right items for us to focus on in regard to student engagement. And so any support that an ACE team needs, we provide that support. And then the executive director continues to visit to see if it's been elevated and what other supports they continually need.
Thank you. And do you get feedback from or input from the students as well? Or is it something that when you're walking through or doing the walkthrough, you just observe?
So when we walk through, we always speak to students in classrooms and in buildings and just how is it going. And the other feedback that we get is from the climate and culture survey from students. So we do speak to them in the hallway. We do observe things, for example, how many students say hello to each other, how many adults say hello to each other, and that type of we look at the environment as well, and the climate in the building. And those come from observations, but also from talking to all staff members in the building that we say hello to and engage in. So we don't speak to every staff member as far as like a focus group per se, but we do engage, how's it going? And, ask particular questions if need be.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? I don't see any more hands raised. Does Kim?
Sorry. Sorry. One more question. I was trying to squeeze it in.
Sure.
So, I know that there's also been a lot of work in terms of like statewide groups looking at this work nationally, and obviously, I mean, COVID really just has been really rough for us. are you looking at other places, and I don't even know if this exists yet, where they've really been able to not just tackle it as you guys have done it here, but they're beginning to see success and maybe some kind of emerging strategies or et cetera. Are you participating in that kind of work and looking to see, like, I don't know, I'll give an example. Dallas is doing some work on this and trying to perhaps replicate some of that.
So yes, and right. And so the yes and is that, so our connection to Attendance Works is one area that helps us have those kind of conversations. Our Talk Tuesdays that Ms. Barney participates, talks about that district-wide and also brings in, not district-wide, I'm sorry, statewide. So it's an opportunity from across the state to see some practices as well. Dr. Negron and I participate in a group called Aspen, and they also have time where there are other colleagues from across the nation, and we talk about particular concerning items. Attendance might be one of those pieces. But on the last slide, and I know I went fast because there was so much information there, it was honestly hard for me to contain to just that, to be honest with you. But there is a group that we're looking into in additional to that called Proving Ground that we're considering partnering with to just do that. And they are having groups. One I know is in Ohio, but other groups that have shown success as well and are looking for different districts to partner so that we could have sort of a cohort experience to collaborate around this, because it's huge. And though we want it to be addressed as quickly as possible, we're not sure that it's going to take more than just a few months to really address this, because we're not sure what's going to happen with getting vaccinated again, getting another booster. And typically the data says that it takes 3 years for a pandemic to sort of slow down. And so we're going to pray that it's just 2 years and we're done. But in case that happens, that we're not sure what's going to happen with the future.
That's great. Thank you.
And it looks like that's it.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chairperson Ledger.
You're very welcome. And now we are going to move on to summer teaching and learning. Oh, the 2022 summer program overview.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, Chief Negron in the Office of Academics. And today I'm going to be taking an opportunity to share the extended learning opportunities that will be made available to our students this summer. So in this slide, I just want to walk you through all of this information. You see the overview of the programs that will be offered. You will notice that consistent to our practice in the past, we will be running these programs during the month of July with credit recovery starting a week earlier. Credit recovery starts the last week in June. All programs except those servicing high school level students will be in operations Monday through Friday. So let me walk you through early start first. So that is the first column here on the left. Early start is intended for students who are in need of additional reading support. Families of students who are 2 or more grade levels below, as evident by the winter iReady assessment, will receive a preliminary invitation to attend summer school. And this has been the practice that we have done every summer now. The student performance will be measured again via iReady in May. And then after that, we will send another communication to the families. And the areas of focus during this program will be reading, writing, math, science, and social emotional learning. So that is early start. The middle school program is for students entering grades 6, 7, and 8. And this program will be led by our community-based organizations. And the focus areas will be literacy, math, soft skills, and enrichment. The extended school year program, which you see here as ESY, this is the program for any student with exceptionalities in need of an extended year as reflected in their individualized education plan, right? So it would be reflected in their IEP. And the areas of focus are informed by the IEP, and it's also inclusive of pre-academic skills, transitional skills, reading, writing, math, and social emotional learning. The next program that you see here is what we call Summer Bridge Program. And this is going to be aligned to our post-secondary readiness work that we're doing as part of the strategic operating plan. Summer Bridge will be offered to students who are entering 9th grade. This program is going to focus on English language arts, math, and college and career preparation. And the last program that you see here is our credit recovery program. I just want to remind folks that this program is an opportunity for any student to recover up to 2 credits, right? So if a high school student failed a course and it is a course that is necessary for graduation, they can come and recover via our credit recovery program. All of these programs, I want to mention that they will be held in person this summer. There will be at designated sites throughout the district. There will be afternoon enrichment provided by our CBOs. Families will need to sign up for these programs. And we are currently working on communication and marketing for all of these programs, as well as a parent-friendly registration process. So there will be more information coming as it pertains to registration. Hannah, if we can go to the next slide. Here in this slide, I want to share with you some of the program logistics, right? I already told you what the programs are targeting in terms of the population, but we are aiming to have program registrations completed by the end of May, right? So next month, we're going to be very aggressive in our communication and marketing, as I indicated. We're going to roll out the registration process. But I do want to highlight a little bit about the early start. So for example, we already started some of the communication with the families when we took a look at the winter iReady assessment. So any student in the winter assessment that was 2 grade levels or more below the benchmark, we have already begun that communication via the schools and also via Parent Square. What will happen is that once that assessment is rolled out again, we will be sure to communicate with the families to say, hey, your child is in that band of 2 grade levels or below, so it is crucial that they come to the Early Start program. And we intend to support them with the registration process to make sure that they are able to be part of that. And I just saw the note on the chat, Ms. Brody. I will make sure that I leave time to kind of give you a little update also as it relates to the high dosage tutoring and things that we're doing now to support our students. Also want to mention that we are very grateful. Hannah, yes, please, thank you. We're also very grateful to the partnerships with our CBOs. We are going to be leveraging them to work on this middle school program. So there, we want to be more aggressive with the outreach and the communication, because ideally, excuse me, we want to make sure that we do the registration in the month of April, so that then the CBOs have ample time to get fully prepared for that program. So that registration is going to be a little earlier, but that is the reason why. With the other programs, again, we're going to make sure that we, like, for example, ESY, a lot of that we do it via the PPTs that are happening. We leverage the classroom teacher to do a lot of the communication with the families to make sure that they're fully aware of the students that are part of ESY as part of the IEP. Excuse me. We also leverage our counselors, and we're looking closely at the marking period grades. And we will begin to communicate via the counselors directly with the students and the families to say, hey, right now you're like in jeopardy, or looking back at your credits from years past, we really encourage you to come in and take X course that is going to help you towards meeting graduation requirements. I am going to take the opportunity today to share a little bit of more details around Summer Bridge, because we're approaching that a little differently and expanding what we plan to do as it relates to Summer Bridge. And I'm ready for the next slide. This slide just gives you a little bit about the scheduling that we're looking at for early start, Summer Bridge, and credit recovery. So here we are attempting to put schedules in place with the intentionality to promote student engagement and continue to support them, right, with those academic needs, as I mentioned on the focus areas with my first slide. But there's also going to be enrichment activities that are going to be built in. As you see, we work with our food service departments to ensure, right, that we are providing breakfast and lunch every day during these summer programs. And we are going to be offering a variety of enrichment opportunities, as I mentioned, via the CBOs, as well as partnerships with other summer programs that are happening throughout the city. So we want to do our due diligence in communicating all of those opportunities to our families. In terms of transportation, it will be provided. We are going to be providing transportation for both Hartford resident students as well as our suburban students. But that is why registration becomes key, because we need to take a close look at registration numbers to then right size, right, what the transportation will look like. So there will be more exploration going on, but I want to assure folks that transportation will be provided. Now I want to dig in a little deeper around Summer Bridge. We're very excited. New program that we are looking to implement this year. As I mentioned before, aligned with our strategic operating plan around post-secondary support. We are leveraging the research that does exist around grade 9 academic performance. We did provide a link because I know often we hear, well, tell us a little bit more about the research. What research are you using? So we did link it and it's accessible in the slide deck that was provided to you via board docs. But we are honing in on research specific from the from the Chicago Consortium that has done a lot of work around, for example, why grades drop when students enter high school and what adults can do about it. So we did link that there for you so that you can reference it. But basically we know, right, that grade 9 is a predictor to tell us, right, how successful students are going to be, not only throughout their high school years, but also the likelihood that they will be successful when they leave us high school to go on to college or career path. So that is why we want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power, right, to set up students for success in that transition into high school. Hannah, if we go to the next slide, this is going to be what students will experience during the summer bridge, right? There will be attention given to getting them ready to 9th grade algebra, right? Which tends to be the core subject for freshmen. We're going to be using a project-based learning approach to really get the kids excited about math and increase the student engagement. In terms of English language arts, we will be looking to get them prepared for English 1 readiness. And we're going to be using a blended self-paced mastery-based instructional model. So we are going to leverage free professional learning that is going to be offered by the state. We already have a lot of our teachers who have signed up to be part of that learning, and we're going to leverage that learning to bring it into our summer bridge program. Again, a lot of that is student-centered practices. There will be a seminar block that we are using. We are integrating our CBOs into this curriculum. We have been already planning with them. And this seminar block is going to offer a variety of programming for students, such as guest speakers that will be coming in. There will be an emphasis on interview preparation, so our students can get ready for that. Resume writing workshops. So a lot of exciting things, again, that we're building in partnership with our CBOs. There's also going to be specialized seminar offerings for students with work placement. So we're looking for those opportunities for kids to do some of that work this summer. In terms of summer social emotional learning, because we're going to have counselors and social workers be part of this program, we feel that that is going to give them an avenue, right, to start building those connections with our students early on during the summer. There will be electives, something different that we're going to offer. And we wanted make sure that our students are able to experience a lot of the electives that are available throughout the entire district. So we're going to be tapping into elective teachers from our magnet schools to try to recruit them to be part of Summer Bridge, so that, again, our students can learn about all the great opportunities that are available throughout the district. And then, as I mentioned, there will be CBO enrichment opportunities. And right now we are discussing opportunities like team building activities, field trips, and visit to our magnet schools. So we are very excited about Summer Bridge. So I believe this is my last slide on Summer Bridge on summer programs. I will open it up for questions. And then after that, I want to make sure that I give you an update on high dosage tutoring.
Thank you so much, Dr. Negron. I'm trying to see if anyone has a question before we go into your report about the tutoring. Board Member Oliver has a question.
Hi, I guess I got all these questions today, sorry. Thank you for the presentation, that was really helpful. So I guess one of the things is, before I ask my real question, I know that this is something that you're working on and designing. Is this a pretty much how it's looking like you consider this to be pretty final at this point, Dr. Negron?
In terms of the programs, yes.
Okay.
These will be the programs. Right now, we are finalizing, right? Things that we're working out with our CBOs, transportation. We want to take and do due diligence around whatever the registration process is going to be,
Okay.
because we did hear last year that it was not the easiest thing for families.
Okay.
So we want to make sure, as a matter of fact, tomorrow there's a meeting that we have among different offices to come together and really think about, how can we make that a lot easier than it was in the past.
Okay. And is there you mentioned a lot of the partnership with CBOs, which is fantastic, in my opinion. So how, and I apologize if I missed it, how are those CBOs being selected? Is it based on the current partnerships you have with certain schools? Because obviously there's some CBOs very much in deep partnership already with some specific schools, or are you looking to, go another path?
So this is the area of expertise for Chief Blackbrick, but I am going to share at least what the knowledge that we all have, right? But yes, we first start with CBOs that are currently, have been working with us, that know our kids, know our students. So we leverage those partnerships as much as possible. But I know, for example, as it relates to our summer bridge, right? We also have to think about, capacity, who would be at the ready to be able to do that. And I know that she has engaged in a lot of outreach to just CBOs in general. And some folks have stepped up to say, yes, we have capacity. We can do this work. So for example, I know that 2 lead CBOs that will be part of the summer bridge are going to be, make sure that I give you the right names, the Village for Families and Children, and also Catholic Charities. So I know those 2 are gonna be leads, but I know there's going to be others that are gonna be brought into the fold.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I have a question. Well, let me see if anyone else. Okay, I don't see any questions, any hands up. But I have a question. Can you just elaborate a bit on soft skills? What are soft skills?
So soft skills would be things, teaching the kids how to persevere, right? How to work around, could be conflict. It could be things around effort, right? These are the things that in the past, right, they have been called soft skills, but now those skills are becoming more important than ever before, right? Things like resilience, grit. These are a lot of the things that we tend to refer to as soft skills.
So would it be something like social skills in a way? Or
Social skills, yeah, all of those things will fall into soft skills.
Okay. Thank you. And another question I have is, what will be done, or have you thought about families who will not be able to have their children attend summer school, those who need that the summer programming, if they're going to be traveling or if they're just not able to attend? Will you be providing some type of alternative, whether it's a packet or some type of virtual option for these students?
So no virtual option because all programming will be in person, but what we do offer and will continue to offer will be things like in collaboration with the Hartford Public Library. We always will run like our superintendent reading challenge. So there will be things that are accessible like online. We're also right now thinking about running a math challenge as well during the summer. So these will be opportunities that are available online.
Okay, thank you so much. One more question. We're gonna hear about the update with regards to the tutoring, but would that be something that would be available to these students who are unable to attend summer school in person?
So as it relates to, if you're speaking about the high dosage tutoring that we have with Intervene, Intervene has always said that they would also be available if it's needed to offer the support during the summer as well. So that would be another opportunity.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Okay, if no other questions, let me just get my document so that I can give you the latest on the high dosage tutoring. Okay, so in terms of the high dosage tutoring, and again, I'm only going to speak about Intervene, not our internal track, right, which is K2. This is more 3 to 12. We began that as an after-school opportunity. And with the after-school opportunity, we had a very small amount of students taking advantage of that opportunity. From there, we then pivoted to go into a during the school day opportunity for students. So we work directly with our school principals. Intervene has been part of this work, along with the internal team of extended learning opportunities. And right now, I am very happy to report that we currently have students at West Middle who started high dosage tutoring the beginning of March. We also have another group at Annie Fisher Montessori who started during the school day tutoring. So that is happening there. And this week, the work started with 6 other schools looking to bring high dosage tutoring during the school day. And that includes Naylor, Ranzuli, Classical, Kinsella, and Breakthrough North. SAN is also coming on board, and now they figure out a way to have it as part of their after-school program. So that brings us up to 8 schools that are leveraging the high dosage tutoring. In addition to that, we are scheduled with 12 other schools that are currently working at the school day schedule to see how they could bring the program to the school day. And that includes Webster, Belize, Kennelly, Montessori at Batchelder, Global, Rawson, McDonough, Milner, MD Fox, SMSA, University, Buckley, and Weaver. So it's been slow, but by the end of April, we should now have 12, 18, 19 schools participating.
Okay, thanks. But currently you have 2, correct?
Currently, we have 1, 2, 8.
8, okay. I'm sorry. So West Middle, which is, are they doing it during the school day or after school?
All of these again is when we had to do the pivot because we were not getting traction after school. We moved it to during the school day, trying to like problem solve around the schedules. And now this is why we have the 8 schools and with the other 12 about to come on board.
And how are families receptive to this? Are they excited? Are the students excited? How's the momentum?
So right now, the momentum that I have is from the students at West Middle because they were the ones that began first. And the feedback there, at least from the school, is that they're grateful that they were able to figure out their schedule to bring the students together to then access the high dosage tutoring for at least 45 minutes during the regular school day.
Okay, and is this during the beginning of the day, in the middle of the day, towards the end of the day, around what time, or does it vary?
So right now it will vary because you have to remember that we brought Intervene after the school year had begun. So schedules are set. So what we had to do was, again, sit down, meet, kind of problem solve, think out of the box to see where can we identify time to put this in place. Because at the end of the day, right, you still need an adult to supervise the group. Even though you have the kids online and you have the tutor online doing the tutoring, you still need supervision of the students during the school day. So that is the complexity that the building leaders were working with to kind of strategize. How can we do this? Who can I designate? So everybody is approaching it in a different way with the end goal that, again, we want to make sure that we're providing this opportunity to the students who need it the most.
Thank you. Any more questions? I don't see any more. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so I believe those were the 2 agenda items. So let's see, we covered the deeper dive into chronic absenteeism and understanding the programming for summer school. So let's see. So looking ahead, our next committee meeting will be on April 28th. And does anyone have any closing comments, remarks before we sign off? Okay, it doesn't look like it. So thank you so much for your presentations. Thank you everyone who attended the meeting, and have a great evening.